We are so pleased to present Ohioans the newly announced Vax-a-Million.
Are you feeling lucky? One Ohioan will win $1 million this week in the Vax-a-Million drawing. But is the incentive working? The Verify team looks into if businesses can ask to see your vaccination card. Plus, we investigate how the state ended up overpaying billions of dollars in unemployment benefits. Face the State begins now. Hello, and thank you for joining us on Face the State. I'm Angela Ann. Tracy Townsend is off. Well, tonight is the deadline to register for the first Vax-a-Million drawing. The goal is to encourage more Ohioans to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, to qualify for the drawing, you must receive at least one shot. There are two ways, though, to register. You can go online to ohiovaxamillion.com or call 1-833-4-ASK-ODH. Now, the governor says the goal is to increase the number of people who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. But it's not the only incentive happening right now. 10 TV's Lindsay Mills has several other options from across the area.
Aside from Vax-a-Million, employees here at Claremont Retirement Village in Columbus have a chance at winning some serious cash if they get vaccinated.
We're doing 4 drawings of $250.
Tricia Lawhon and Deborah Lacaboni say they saw firsthand the need to incentivize people to get vaccinated. They started their lottery before Governor DeWine announced Vax-a-Million.
Just the lottery here in Ohio alone, people like that feel of the chance, the opportunity to win something, the scratch-offs. By doing it, I think he got more people interested in it.
But is Vax-a-Million working? Ohio Department of Health says yes. According to a news release Thursday, since the announcement, there's been a 28% increase in vaccinations for Ohioans 16 and older. However, Franklin County Public Health says it's not seeing an increase like other areas of the state are seeing. To help get their numbers up, they've started offering clinics at new times at night and on Saturdays. Meanwhile, in Knox County,
it appears that we're 3 times the amount of first doses than what we saw the first week of May. This week alone.
Zach Green, the deputy health commissioner, says Vax-a-Million helped along with 2 other factors.
The other is the 12 and older coming online. And the last thing is that June 2nd date. People understand that the mitigation efforts that we have been utilizing and been thankful for, that our community has been strong in holding up those for the last, almost 14 months. That's going away.
Something to keep in mind as more places start to offer incentives for people to get vaccinated. It's a good idea to take a picture of your vaccination card so you always have it with you. In Columbus, Lindsay Mills, 10 TV News.
Lindsay, thank you. Now, Knox County's health leaders are also utilizing mobile clinics in rural areas. And shoppers, you'll like this one. Grocery chain Meijer will give away a $10 coupon when shoppers show their vaccination card. Well, this week we saw a big change when it comes to wearing masks in Ohio. The director of the health department officially amended the order to allow fully vaccinated people in Ohio to stop wearing masks. This coincides with similar guidance from the CDC. In most settings, people who are fully vaccinated no longer need to wear masks. Now, in response to the CDC's new guidance, Columbus public health officials asked the city council to repeal its mask mandate. The statewide mandate is set to end June 2nd. More businesses are now putting new mask rules in place, but many people are having a tough time navigating the mixed messages.
I think it's confusing. I think if you take the necessary precautions for yourself, then it shouldn't necessarily be pushed upon other people.
If they tell me I don't have to wear a mask, I'm not going to wear a mask. If we can, I'd like to see us just go back to normal.
Ideally, I'd like to see 70% of our population vaccinated. I'd also like to see lower rates of COVID-19 in our community. So when we get that sweet spot, I think that's when I would feel comfortable having people take off their mask.
Now, we reached out to city council members and they told us that the policy is under review. but they typically follow guidelines from the Columbus Public Health Department. Now, to see which businesses are requiring masks and which ones are ditching them, you can text the word masks to 614-460-3345. While most stores are using the honor system when it comes to vaccinated versus unvaccinated, the Columbus crew will require proof for fans to sit in the vaccinated-only section. Now, this begins with their match against Toronto FC May 29th. The sections are on the lower and upper sidelines. These will be sold at 100% capacity, and fans must also show a valid vaccination card or a photo of the card, plus a photo ID before they enter the sections. Now, the Verify team is looking into if businesses can ask you for your vaccination status. Some people are posting online suggesting HIPAA prevents this from happening. That's false. Evan Kozlov explains why.
The Verify team is bringing you the facts when it comes to information spreading online. And after the CDC said vaccinated people can be in most public areas without a mask, posts like these started popping up, claiming that asking someone for their vaccination status violates the federal law HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So let's verify. Is a business asking a customer about their vaccination status a violation of HIPAA? Here are our sources: the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and 3 experts: Ileana Peters, a health privacy specialist from the D.C. Law Office of Polsinelli; Glenn Cohen, a professor at Harvard Law School; and Kate Spector-Baghdadi, a bioethicist from the University of Michigan. Our experts say that the privacy part of HIPAA applies to healthcare providers and health insurance companies from disclosing certain medical information without your consent. So your local grocery store or bar is not restricted by that law. They can ask whether you're vaccinated.
Anyone really can ask you for your information under HIPAA, and it's you, the patient, who has to make the decision: yes, I'm going to give that information, or no, I'm not, because that's my decision. But that isn't regulated by HIPAA.
So we could verify that no, most regular businesses would not violate HIPAA by asking for your vaccination status. With your Verify, I'm Evan Kozlov.
Now, unemployment claims week to week are dropping. The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services reported more than 17,000 jobless claims last week, but that is roughly 2,000 fewer compared to the week before. Now, this drop comes as Governor Mike DeWine announced an end to federal unemployment benefits starting in late June. Well, $2 billion, that is how much money the state of Ohio overpaid in unemployment benefits during the pandemic. And now many people are worried they'll have to pay it back, even though it wasn't their fault. So what went wrong here? Chief Investigative Reporter Bennett Haberly reveals what we found.
And it has been just a frustrating experience.
Sean and Karen Kessler's past year is a tale of misfortune. They're standing next to their roommate's car. Theirs was repossessed. They're behind on rent. Credit cards maxed out. Sean is working, but they're fighting with the state over 4 weeks of unemployment benefits for the 2 times Sean was out of work when they got COVID twice. Once last May and again in January.
And we're caught in the middle, and neither side is fixing it. And it's been a year.
Records the Kesslers provided us show they did receive some benefits, but the state claims the Kesslers were also overpaid more than $1,500.
Our system is built for annual rainfall, and this was really a 500-year flood.
This week, the interim director of the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, Matt Damschroeder, reiterated what we already knew, that Ohio was overwhelmed last spring with a wave of unemployment claims that flooded the system. What is new is that in the year that followed, Ohio overpaid $2.1 billion worth of unemployment benefits. About a quarter of that, Damschroeder says, was lost to fraud. The majority came in the form of non-fraudulent overpayments, money that the state could ask people like Karen and Sean to pay back.
I worry where our next meal is coming from sometimes. I worry how I'm going to pay my electric bill. You know, that's what keeps me up at night.
It's also possible ODJFS could let them keep the money, but right now, Ohio's plan is unclear.
As hard as it is to hear, the best thing I can say is hold tight. We are working on the policy.
Before we get into what went wrong, it's important to remind you that there are 2 tracks of unemployment. There's traditional unemployment insurance, and then there's pandemic, or PUA, the latter of which was created by the federal government in wake of COVID for people who wouldn't normally qualify for jobless benefits. There were problems in both, made worse by the urgent need to get the money out quickly and by Ohio's antiquated computer system that was both crippled and exploited by a wave of jobless claims, both legitimate and fraudulent.
For many Ohioans, the system has frankly failed.
Representative Mark Frazier is co-chair of the Unemployment Improvement Council, a bipartisan group of state lawmakers tasked with taking a look at what went wrong in Ohio's unemployment system and examining ways to fix it. Ohio's antiquated computer system is not currently cloud-based, and a Minnesota company hired years ago to modernize it isn't expected to complete the project until the end of 2022.
From what I see is the new system wasn't built in the 2 to 3 years that needed to be there to support the pandemic. The system continues to not be available.
Frazier's group of lawmakers has a report due out in August, which in part will rely on the findings of State Auditor Keith Faber. Further complicating this issue is the fact that Faber says ODJFS wasn't fully transparent with his auditors last year about the fact that they knew there was widespread fraud within the unemployment system last summer.
We started asking the question, as we do in every audit, are you aware of any fraud concerns? Are you aware of any vulnerabilities in your system from a control standpoint? And the answer we got essentially was no, we've had some relatively minor, regular type of fraud. It's in the tens of thousands.
But in February of this year, after Faber's audit was complete, ODJFS's then director, Kim Henderson, told state lawmakers this.
High degree of fraud was first recognized in the PUA system in early July. By July, that's when the alarm bells really started ringing.
That admission, Faber says, prompted his office to start a new separate audit, specifically looking into fraud.
They weren't disclosing what they had a duty to disclose and answering our questions.
Henderson's statements in February came roughly 2 weeks before she announced she was leaving her position.
It's truly been an honor to serve on your cabinet.
This week, I attempted to ask her about the decision to step away. Through a Facebook message, she said she did not want to be interviewed and referred me to a spokesman who said it was Henderson's decision to leave the department. Fixing these issues now falls to the shoulders of the state and ODJFS, along with Interim Director Matt Damschroeder.
The most important thing that the agency can do right now to establish confidence on the part of claimants is to make sure that legitimate claims are paid as quickly as possible.
More work to do, he says, and more people like Karen and Sean are left wondering what they'll do as their fight over benefits drags on.
But it should have been taken care of a long time ago.
The auditor says he's encouraged by the increased transparency and cooperation with ODJFS. The interim director here says right now there is no policy in place to deal with the overpayments, and they're working with federal law enforcement to address the millions lost to fraud. Bennett Haberly, 10 Investigates.
Well, May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and the push is underway to create an Ohio Commission for Asian Affairs. We'll have a look at the next steps. Plus, moms and dads, listen up. Money is coming your way this summer. Who is eligible and when to check your account? There is a push to create Ohio's first Asian Affairs Commission. I spoke to Jonah Hilario, a community organizer with OPOL, a grassroots organization here in the state. Now, she says the AAPI community is also the only ethnic group without a commission. Hilario also says she's working to change that.
Important to us because AAPIs are the fastest growing racial and ethnic demographic in Ohio and in the country. And there are 350,000 people in Ohio who are Asian or Asian Americans, and we need our state to know us. And a commission is one way for us to build meaningful relationships with our state government. And we need, one place to go to where our resources and other services could be coordinated for our community.
Hilario also says getting this together is time sensitive. OPOL is hoping to get the Asian Affairs Commission on the governor's final budget, and that budget needs to be submitted by the end of June. As we near the end of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, it is critical to have a conversation about racism and the role the COVID-19 pandemic played. Here's reporter Tiffany Liu.
Across the country, there have been a number of disturbing acts of hate against Asian Americans. How do these trends compare to years past? And is there a connection with the pandemic? Let's take a look at the data from the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism. Their researchers looked at hate crime patterns in 2020 across 16 American cities. In those 16 areas, overall hate crimes dropped by 7%, but anti-Asian hate crimes rose by 149% in 2020. In 2019, there were 49 documented cases of hate crimes with anti-Asian bias in the 16 cities studied, while in 2020, there were 122 cases. That's more than double the number of hate crimes from the year before.
As police officers going out answering calls, there'll be times, when I deal with either suspects or the citizens, they'll call me names. I'm from Korea, they call me go back to China.
A report published in July 2020 from the Pew Research Center found a majority of Asian adults, 58%, said it was more common for people to, quote, express racist or racially insensitive views about people who are Asian than it was before the coronavirus outbreak.
A few customers came by and they made comments. They asked other, team members, like, are you worried because you work with them? Implying like, oh, Asian people have COVID.
So is this uptick connected to the pandemic? The research suggests yes, there is a link between the two. According to the report, the amount of hate crimes reported to law enforcement rose 40% from pre-pandemic levels in 2019 to 2020 when the pandemic was widespread. And the Pew Research Center study found that, quote, about 4 in 10 U.S. adults say it has become more common for people to express racist views towards Asians since the pandemic began.
Feels like a lot lately where we should be calling ourselves the divided states of America.
There are also organizations collecting data from across the country. Stop AAPI Hate has received thousands of self-reported incidents, majority of which are not reported to law enforcement. Between March 2020 and February 2021, 3,795 incidents of anti-Asian hate were reported to Stop AAPI Hate.
There's been a surge of racism. There's been an increase in hate crimes and overall blatant racism and racist policies.
That was Tiffany Liu reporting. I recently hosted a conversation about Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. You can watch it right now on 10tv.com and also on our Roku and Amazon Fire apps. While underserved parts of Ohio are about to get better broadband access, Governor Mike DeWine signed a bill last week that will provide $20 million in grants for high-speed internet to people living in rural areas. DeWine's office says nearly 1 million Ohioans right now have no access at all. Amtrak leaders announced plans to one day bring rail service back to the 3 Cs in Ohio plus Dayton. Amtrak held a virtual roundtable with several city leaders to talk about their vision. The goal is to have rail service through Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, and also through a Dayton corridor. That means additional service through Crestline, Delaware, Springfield, and Sharonville. You can see it right there. It's being called the 3C and D corridor.
We think the corridor in Ohio is a place we want to start early, and we're looking for the support at the local level to show that that's a good investment for the federal government, and of course making the pitch to our federal partners about creating a long-term program that can provide the funding to Amtrak and to our state partners to make investments like this one.
Now, the goal is to create 3 daily round trips by the year 2035, but it still needs federal funding to be created. Well, we learned more about the child tax credit here in Ohio last week. One expert explained it like this.
For the last 6 months of 2021, people will be receiving these monthly payments. Then when they file their taxes next spring, they'll get the rest of the amount for 2021.
Now, the IRS says 39 million families will receive advanced monthly payments starting July 15th. The IRS says that the credit amounts will increase for eligible parents to $3,600 for each child under the age of 6 and up to $3,000 for all children ages 6 through 17. The Center for Community Solutions estimates 92% of Ohio's children will benefit from this.
For single parents, if your adjusted gross income was less than $75,000 per year, you'll receive the full amount. For a married couple, that's $150,000. of adjusted gross income per year. And then for single people who are heads of household, it's in the middle of that. $112,500 per year are the income thresholds to receive that full tax credit.
Now, people who earn more may receive a lesser amount, and for those who want to opt out of the advance payments, the IRS will release the steps on how to do that soon. Columbus City Council approved the largest settlement in the city's history. Up next, hear their message to the family of Andre Hill. Columbus City Council officially approved the largest settlement in city history, $10 million. That money will go to the family of Andre Hill, who was shot and killed by a police officer 6 months ago. 10 TV's Richard Solomon explains why the council approved this payment.
City council members were filled with sorrow as they passed the $10 million settlement to the family of Andre Hill, the largest amount ever paid out by the city.
Andre Hill's tragic death is a reminder of the challenges we continue to confront in our city. This settlement tonight is a small step towards justice for the family of Andre Hill.
All council members voted yes to pass the settlement. Councilman Mitchell Brown took a moment to share his personal thoughts on Hill's death.
Mr. Hill's death has left a hole in the lives of a lot of people in the city of Columbus and throughout this United States. To the Hill family, I personally want to extend my sincerest condolences for your loss.
Andre Hill was shot and killed by former Columbus police officer Adam Coy back in December. Police say Coy failed to turn on his body-worn camera until after Hill was shot and render aid. William Sparlazza, an attorney for the city, says the settlement was reached fairly quickly.
The city felt a strong desire to do right by the family, to engage in honest and serious negotiations.
All of them praying that the family will heal from this tragedy.
We cannot afford to continue in this manner, and I hope that this is the last time we will see something like this come before us.
Reporting in Columbus, Richard Solomon, 10 TV News.
In addition to the settlement, the city will also rename the Brentnell Community Center's gymnasium after Andre Hill. Well, Central Ohio said goodbye to a former state leader who worked to build up minority businesses. Otto Beatty Jr. was well known in the Columbus community for the work on how he helped lift up disadvantaged neighborhoods. Beatty served 18 years in the state legislature, as well as special counsel to the state attorney general. Circumstances surrounding his death are not known at this time, but we do know he was loved. Earlier this year, 10 TV spoke with his wife and current Congresswoman Joyce Beatty about that love.
I could not do much of this without Otto. He is just that much of a strength to me, a leader. And believe it or not, I listen a lot to him.
That was back in February. Otto Beatty Jr. was 81 years old. His funeral was held Friday. President Joe Biden sent this statement soon after the death of Otto Beatty Jr., saying he served his hometown as a trailblazing legislator, attorney, and community leader. Well, we want to thank you all for watching Face the State. Tracy will be back next Sunday. And remember, if it affects you, your family, and Ohio, we're here to make sure those accountable face the state. Have a great day.